Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next session. Excited for this one. Got buddy Steve here, who's out at the ranch with him as well. He's a supervisor out of Surprise PD out of Arizona. He's going to be doing a session called Leadership Reimagined Followership. Take it away, my friend.
Thanks, Ricardo. Good morning, everybody. As Ricardo said, my name is Steve Turchin. I'm administrative dispatch supervisor for the Surprise Police Department. Been with Surprise be 18 years in January, 19 years as a dispatcher. Last year on here, I did a leadership seminar as well. This one's a little bit different because I think we're kind of changing our scope, our focus on what leadership is and how it works in the workplace. We're reimagining how to make the workplace a better place for everybody and how it's going to be functional. Servant leadership is my style of leadership, but as my quote said on the front of the training session, John Maxwell said, "A leader with no followers is just a man taking a walk." So it's really important that we have people that will follow leaders, and that's where we get the terminology for followership. So, question is, what is followership? And hey, guys, feel free throw stuff in the chat, answer questions in there, ask questions. I'm trying to follow along, so you'll see my eyes bouncing all over. And please disregard the background. This is my son's game room, so it's a little bit of a mess. We'll try and keep your focus on me and this PowerPoint. So followership is the willingness to cooperate in a working toward the accomplishment of the mission, to demonstrate a high degree of teamwork, and to build cohesion among the organization members. What does that mean? It means that your ideas, your ideals, your vision, what you're creating for your people is something they want to and willingly follow you through. Why do people follow leaders? What are people looking for in a good leader? They're looking for somebody they can trust. The ability to trust a leader is essential to cultivate followers. It is that one requirement that successful leaders cannot afford to take for granted. If you don't have trust, you can't have anything. Yeah, Ricardo, vision, very important as well. Compassion. People want leaders who care about them as people. So we're not treating people as employees. We're treating them as people. We're giving them the attention they deserve. We're giving them room to grow. We're giving them room to lead as well. There's so much. It's important that you know your people, that you could have that stopwatch on them, or the feel of that heartbeat. You know when something's wrong. You don't have to ask. They don't have to tell you. You walk into a room, you can feel it, and you address it. You can't ignore it. If you walk away from it, be like, not going to deal with Jim today. I see he's got that rain cloud over his head. Everybody else notices that, and it affects the whole room. So have compassion. People also desire stability in their work environment. In order for trust to exist, people need to know that a leader has a firm grip on the rudder, even in the midst of a storm. So bottom line, if you want people to follow you, you have to be able to show that you know what you're doing. You have your hand on that finger on that heartbeat. You know what's going on in that room. You're not just sitting at a desk, not paying attention to the stuff that's going on. You're always available. You can make yourself important to the room as well, even though you may not be somebody in the room who's always involved because you're not a quote unquote working supervisor. I'm not. And our dispatch center, our supervisors are not working supervisors. All that means is we don't answer the phones. We're not on radio. We're there to lead, to guide the room, to offer that stability. And lastly, hope. Followers want to know that there's a future and a direction for the company. The most engaged employees that are surveyed by Gallup, they said that they had faith in their leaders' visions, and Ricardo threw that right up there. So it's important that y'all have the same vision, that you're working towards the same goals. If you want people to follow you, you have to make sure that you're leading them to a place they want to go. So we have different types of followers. Um, First one is the I can't say that word. Exemplary follower. Um, we call them the star followers because they think for themselves. They have positive energy, high level active engagement, as well as independent critical thinking. When they take initiative, they can provide constructive criticism, and they assume ownership, which is important because they're not going to blame somebody else for anything that happens. They're going to give you your buy-in. They're going to champion the goals of your organization. They're going to be willing to do things because, first of all, you've explained it properly. You've given them the direction. They understand what that direction is, and they're willing to do it. Uh, those people are great. Those are usually your smallest percentage of people in your communication center are these star followers. They're a very small percentage, but they're your top people, the people you know you can count on. Um, Next, you have the conformist. It's just what it sounds like. They're yes people. Followers have high levels of active engagement, but not so much critical thinking. So they're going to do what they have to do, but they're basically doing it because you told them to do it. Uh, they're active doers. They seem like they're team players, willing to accept assignments, and they're trusting of leaders, but often they will put needs of the organization over their own. Whereas the exemplaries are doing it for themselves. They're doing it because they know there's gain for them. They know there's growth for them at the end of the line. Next, you have the passive followers. Passive followers, they're referred to as like sheep, if you will, for lack of a better term, tend to fall on the lower end of both engagement and critical thinking. They'll follow without question, but they need constant direction. You have to hold their hands. You have to make sure that you're dragging them along, even though they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to have a lot of questions. They're going to want somebody to point them in the right direction. They're going to want reassurance. They're going to want that hand holding. They might be the kind of person who puts in the time, but not necessarily the effort. And they likely believe the organizations and leaders are uninterested in their ideas, which is important. People want to be heard. They want to know that their ideas, their thoughts, their feelings are being paid attention to. When they're not, they're going to be less engaged, less likely to be involved. And then you have your alienated people. Obviously, these are the bottom of your totem pole. So I know somebody talked yesterday about the top 10% and then the bottom 10%. And everybody else falls between the 80%. So these are your bottom 10%, usually the alienated. They're more negative, but they do think independently. They don't contribute to positive direction so much. They often see themselves as people with a healthy level of skepticism, but others might see them as cynical, not team players. So they're very independent. They're very, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. We're doing it because it's change for the sake of change. All those people that feel like they've seen it all. Nothing works. They don't want to be involved in change. They're going to follow. There's just the smallest bit of engagement from them. So there. And then the last, the pragmatist. I should have practiced these words more. Man, pragmatist. They maintain the status quo. Pragmatist followers have moderate levels of engagement and critical thinking. They often feel like the environment is full of uncertainty and tend to see where things go before they act. So they're going to watch others, see if it's beneficial to follow, and then if it pays off, they'll probably jump in at the end and be like, okay, yeah, I was on all along. That was exactly what I was going to do, and it works, and we love it. Um, it's just a chart of all those different um, types of followers. So you see, obviously, the right side, I think it's the right side, over where active is. Those are your people that you want are going to be more involved. They're going to be your people that are going to be have that buy-in, who are going to pay attention, who are going to um, they're going to push forward regardless of what's going on. And then the other side, the passive side. So just a different view of all the stuff we were talking about. All right, so the effective follower. There's a lot of different roles that the effective follower plays, but to be a follower, it takes courage to say, "I'm going to follow this lead of this person and invest my time in what they're doing, what they're saying, what the organization is doing." It takes a lot of courage to make those decisions. Not everybody can be a good follower. Some people are less apt to take the time to actually engage and take that ownership of their own career, with the interest in moving with forward with the organization. So it takes some courage to be an effective follower. It takes courage to assume responsibility, which means the effective follower feels a sense of personal responsibility and ownership in the organization and its mission. Um, a lot of you here today have that courage to assume responsibility. You're here mostly probably on your own time. If there's 969 people registered today and we got a couple hundred people sitting here watching this, then you are definitely assuming responsibility to uh, your organization, that you want to grow. You want to be a better person, follower, leader, dispatcher, supervisor, whatever we've got in the room. Uh, and if you don't mind, while I'm talking, throw up if you're management, supervisor, line level, admin, whatever you might be, just so I can get a feel for, who's out there in the room, who I'm talking to. So assume responsibility for his own behavior, how it impacts the organization. Uh, Effective followers do not pressure that a leader or organization will provide them security or permission to act. They just know uh, that the organization will provide opportunity for them to act with their fullest extent of their capabilities. So that's important. They want to know that they're important. And I can't stress that enough when it comes to uh, the leadership part of followership, is making the followers feel important. And not just making them feel, letting them know that they are, letting them have that buy-in. They also have the courage to challenge. How many people out there have people in their center that don't have any problem walking right up to you and going, "You're wrong, and here's why"? Anybody dealing with those people on a daily basis? And it's not a bad thing. I'm not criticizing. It's a good thing to have that courage to challenge. Um, I know I personally have a couple of people in my center that I don't want to say argue for the sake of argue, but they definitely challenge for the sake of getting that 100% real reason why we're doing something. Whatever decision it may be, whether it's scheduling, whether it's policy, it's procedure, it's how we're going to dispatch a call, whether we're going to say 911, where is your emergency, or 911, what is your emergency. I'm going to get challenged on it. But I appreciate being challenged by people who challenge you for the purpose of clarity or betterment or the greater good of the department. Excuse me. So the courage to challenge means that they don't sacrifice their personal integrity or the good of the organization in order to maintain harmony. If a leader's actions and decisions contradict the best interests of the organization, they're going to say something. You want those people behind you. even though sometimes it may feel like they're against you, because they are challenging things. Um, there are people that have uh, the organization in mind at all times, that they want to work at a good place. Um, so the courage to participate in transformation. We are changing our CAD system, um, from Spillman to Mark 43. Reserve your comments on that. But we asked for people to step up and help us test, help us design the CAD system before we kick it out next year. We need volunteers to come up and help us figure out what we want to, how we want to use, what kind of terminology we're going to use for all our different CAD settings, all our nature codes, all our uh, status codes, all that stuff. So we were looking for people to participate in transformation. When you find those people who raise their hand willingly and go, me, I want to help, you have an effective follower. They view the struggle of change and transformation as a mutual experience shared by all members of the organization. When we undergoing difficult transformations, effective followers support the leader in the organization. They're not afraid to confront changes and work towards reshaping the organization. They're going to go to the other people in the organization and go, hey, what we're doing is for the betterment of the department. Here's how we're doing it. Here's why we're doing it. They're going to be your best cheerleaders, your champions. They're people you want. So if you have those people that have the courage to raise their hand and go, I'm going to help, you've got good people. The courage to serve and be subservient. Effective followers understand the needs of the organization, and they seek to serve those needs. This ties again in with servant leadership, and these people are not necessarily leaders with roles that are leadership roles, but they're still going to be leaders on the floor. Just as a leader can serve others to followers, a follower can provide strength to the leader by supporting the leader and contributing to the organization in areas that complement the leader's position. So again, they got your back. There's no real other way to say that. And a big one that you wouldn't think is something that would go along with followership is they have the courage to leave. Sometimes an organization or a person personal changes create a situation where somebody has to withdraw from more a leader-follower relationship. They may not be leaving the department, but they may be changing shifts. They may be changing jobs within the department. So people might know they need new challenges, even though it's hard to leave a job where they have friends or valued colleagues. The courage to leave or move on because it's going to be an improvement for them, that takes a lot of courage. We've got a lot of people staying in the job because, we pay pretty well. We have good benefits. They may not be happy with where they are anymore. They don't have that courage to step out to make a change, to be willing to try something different. And sometimes you want them to have that courage to reach, they've reached the end of that path. Maybe it's time to go somewhere else. Encourage that in your people. I'm not telling you to get rid of people that you don't like. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you have to have the courage to have that conversation with people. And hopefully they have the courage to, if it's a situation that they need to move on from, they have the courage to do it. So followers need things from leaders. What do leaders need from their followers? As a leader, you want somebody who has a can-do attitude. It's important that you have people who are willing to do things without excuses. Our job as leaders becomes a lot easier when followers are positive and self-motivated. Obviously, if you have people that can get things done and accept responsibility, who excel at required tasks, my job as a supervisor is so much easier. Um, I'm not burdened with issues of non-compliance. I'm not There's not rifts in the room every 5 minutes that I have to be watching. They You value the people who take responsibility when they see something that needs to get done. They just say, "I'll do it," or they see something going wrong. They say, "Hey, we need to fix that," or stop talking negatively about the new hire when they're in the room. Um, Stop saying things about every officer that walks in here. Man, we could be very high schooly at times in our comm centers if we don't keep track of what people are saying. It tends to be a gossip mill. I mean, anybody else has that issue? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Um, but we have a fair share of people who just like to chit chat and say things that probably don't need to be said. We have followers that will step in and say, "Hey, this isn't the way we do things." Um, that helps us. Um, we need a collaborative approach. So we're responsible as leaders for much more in the organization than just individual followers' concerns, feelings, and performance. Um, each follower is a part of our larger system and should realize that his or her actions affect the whole. So we need people that work together. They don't have to like each other. We've been through that before. You don't have to make your best friends at work. You usually do. You usually find those people in that room that you want to spend time with. But I'm just saying, even if you don't, there has to be that cohesiveness, that collaborative approach to work together to get the job done. Um, there's a personal drive to stay current. Stay current means continue to train, continue to learn, continue to understand new technology, know what the customer wants, know what the organization wants, and be ready for how the culture changes. Being in a training situation, being taking opportunities to go out and have better uh, to learn things, to share things. Samantha, encouraging others to follow to make the whole culture. Yeah, um, culture change is where it's at. Sometimes we need that. Um, it's hard to do, um, but you definitely want to encourage them to take these steps. All your people should be willing to do the things that are necessary to make a work environment something that's fun to come to. Um, Passion to drive personal growth. Again, that goes right back to training. Leaders want followers to seek to enhance their own growth and development rather than depending on us to do it. What can you teach me? It's great to have a leader, a supervisor, a manager that can show you things, but I don't know everything. Far from it. And I depend on classes, trainings, seminars, whatever, to learn more about our industry, how the industry works, how to treat people, how people want to be treated. Because it's not necessarily just knowing how to treat them, you have to understand them too. You have to catch all the signals, you have to know when you're getting through. So, personal growth, anything that exposes an individual to new people ideas, can enhance personal and professional development. Send your people links to this Dare to Be Great. Share it with them. If they didn't sign up, here's my sign in. Go look at this stuff because, man, we've got 6 years of this stuff to share if they haven't seen it. I'll be honest, I share it every year with my staff. Can't force them to watch. I don't think they anybody has watched them, and it's sad because there's so much good information here. And if you're not interested in what's being said here, I don't know that you're necessarily looking to do the best job you can in this industry. It's just it's really hard to see people that don't have that desire for that personal growth. So the behaviors of the follower are up on the screen. I don't think I'm going to read them all, but they're super important. You want to look for your followers. You want to cultivate them. If they are exhibiting these behaviors, then these are your people. Um, I'll backtrack just a little. Back before I was a dispatcher or in public safety, I was a retail loss prevention manager. So basically, I led a bunch of people who caught shoplifters. Um, I would in the retail world, you go from store to store, and when you're successful, they move you to some place that has a greater volume, so you could do more help situation there. I had people that would follow me from store to store. I didn't know anything about followership back in the day, but I just had detectives that worked for me that when I moved on, they're like, "Hey, any chance there's room at the store for us? Can you take us with you?" And some of the times I could, some of the times I couldn't. I didn't realize there was any correlation between leadership and followership. This is 25 years ago. I knew nothing about this stuff. I just thought, hey, they like working with me, so let's go do it again. Um, Turns out I was carving their path, and they wanted my leadership. Who knew? Three out of the four people that moved to different stores with me became supervisors of their own stores. They had opportunities to be leaders as well. Excuse me. But there were always people like this that volunteered, um, just stepped up and said, "No, we can help. We could do this for you. If you need help with it, let us know." Um, they knew what the expectations were, uh, and they were a resource. I could always bounce things off of them. And now I'm finding the same thing in my career now. I rely on people because, like I said earlier, I don't know everything. Um, the CGIS handbook is this big. I don't remember everything in it. I have a person that I work with that, man, they must have an eidetic memory because they know everything about everything in that book. So when somebody has a question, they come to me with a question. I'm like, hey, why don't we ask Elizabeth? Because she knows everything in CGIS. And she's like, oh, what is it? And boom, she helps. Um, and she's right almost all the time. Um, Working effectively as a team member is another important behavior. You got to have people that will help other people, whether they're trainers or not. Um, the desire to be a high performer and to see other people succeed. These are the traits of followers. These are the behaviors we look for. They offer suggestions for improvement. Listen to people who offer suggestions because they want positive change. Um, they're not asking just for themselves. They see something that needs to be changed because it's going to be better for everybody. Um, they wouldn't bring it up if it was just for them. I guarantee 99% of the time it's not just, I like it better this way. This is why we're doing it. They've probably talked to their peers. They've probably talked to people on other shifts, and they've built up the courage to come to you and say, we'd like to see a change. Be open to it. Give them the power to put that change into motion, show you how it would work, and then see if you could try it. You'll be amazed at, even if it doesn't work, what you've done for that person. Um, so, what do followers need from us as leaders? How are they going to be good followers? What? Throw some stuff in the chat. I'll get you guys involved a little in case I'm putting you to sleep with my death by PowerPoint here. What do followers need from us as leaders? And I will sit here and drink my water until I at least get 3 answers. There's one. Respect and honesty. Well, it's 2. Absolutely, Melanie. What else? What do followers need from leaders? Understanding and patience. Absolutely, Ricardo. Yes, for sure. Lots of patience. Lots of pills. Consistency and fairness. Absolutely. Anything else before I start rambling? All right, keep throwing stuff up there. I'll go over what I've got. Um, come on, PowerPoint. Faith in our abilities. Absolutely. Thank you, Samantha. Um, yep, a voice. So here's the big three, I think, or at least what I've looked at is the big three: clear goals and direction. They want to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. Um, as leaders, followers need leaders to clearly communicate where the team, project, or organization is going and why. We learned this the hard way. I said we're going to a new CAD system. Back in April, we went to a new phone system. Um, People wanted to know why. Why are we changing? This one's fine. It works. We know it. It don't understand why we're changing to something that's almost exactly the same. My original answer was not the best answer because I just said this was the decision that the region made, and we're all moving into this new phone system. 3 days later, that person who asked that question finally talked to me again, and I realized that I didn't explain the advantages of the new phone system. Is it all an advantage? Is it all good? Is it going to be 100% better than the one we had before? No, there's pros and cons. Some things are to be better, some things might get worse. For us, service was going to be better. That was to us. If something fails, we're going to be able to fix it faster. I didn't share that. So there was a failure on my part to not share that information, to not give clear direction as to why we're doing it. And I'm sure she wasn't asking just for her. I'm sure everybody was like, because change is change, and let's not do that. The transition was simple. It wasn't a difficult turnover. It was just the fact that it was something we're not used to. So you want to create an inspiring image is only one aspect of setting a direction. Followers also need specific, unambiguous goals and objectives on both an individual and a team level. So setting clear goals, making sure they know what and why, not just what. Why is so important to people, and I think we ignore the why way too many times. They also want frequent, specific, and immediate feedback. I take a deep breath there because I am not good at this. I know it. I admit it. It needs work. Um, I am not that person. I've never been that person. You don't have to tell me good job every time I do a good job. That's me personally, but it's taken me 19 years to recognize not everybody's like that. People do need that pat on the back. They need that feedback, whether it's good or bad. They want to know, did I do a good job, or what did I mess up? How can I fix it? So effective leaders see feedback as a routine to improvement and development, not as something to dread or fear. We have a system that we use called Blue Team. It's where we put positive and negative things. It's basically a journal for us to keep track of people. So at the end of the year, we can go ahead and write a good review because we have good information. But we used to say, we're going to do a blue team. And that put the fear of God into people because they always saw blue team as a negative thing. If we're getting a blue team, I'm in trouble. We didn't explain what blue team was. It's just a place for us to log progression, feedback, complaints. Yes, are in there as well. We log everything. It's basically a notebook. It's not anything to be scared of. It doesn't actually cause any punitive damage to you. It's just some place to go back. You have access to your notes. I have access to your notes. We know we have it here. We could follow up on it later as needed. When a leader provides feedback, it signals that the leaders care about growth and career development. We want to help people reach their potential. We do monthly notes in our center. So every month we have to do a little write up what you did. Here's your stats. Here's your call volume. Here's your call times. Here's what you did. Here's where you made some errors. Here's where you exceeded. And we sit down and we have a one-on-one with our people every month. Go over the stuff. Nothing's a surprise. They're never at the end of the year getting a review going, you never told me that I'm not good at this, this, and this. We document it. It's there every month. We have conversations about it. Frequent feedback. So monthly, we're giving them that information. More often than not, we're just telling them what a good job they're doing. We don't have a ton of problem employees, thankfully. And the big one, coaching to develop potential. If you're not coaching your people, if you're not trying to bring them forward, if you're not trying to raise their potential, to give them the opportunity to be leaders, the next supervisors, the next managers, so what are we doing? That's our job. We're leaders. We lead people to the next level. So our followers need that. Coaching basically is just taking feedback a step further to help followers upgrade their skills, enhance their career development. Remove obstacles for people. Make it easy for them to move forward. Make it easy for them to attend training, to be a trainer, to move to the next level. If there is no next level, talk to management about creating it. If you have no step between dispatcher and supervisor, we don't, create it. I'm pushing for a lead dispatcher now. It's just the next level. Give people that opportunity. It's not just monetary either. We're not, money is important, but in the grand scheme of things, the people that work there just want opportunity. And don't forget that you have some people that are there that love doing exactly what they're doing and will just keep doing it until they retire. They don't need that next step. Make sure you recognize that as well. Cultivate that person. They're probably going to be a good trainer. They know their job inside and out. If they haven't asked about training, go ask them. They love their job. They're there doing it every single day. So make sure that we're recognizing those things. It gives opportunities. I told you guys I'm the administrative dispatch supervisor now. That's a new job. I asked for it to be implemented at our department to give us opportunities to grow. I get bored easily. If I do something 3 or 4 years in a row, I'm like, what's next? I want the next logical step. I was hoping for an assistant manager job, but they made the admin supervisor the same thing. It's the opportunity to help take the burden off my manager. They hadn't thought about it. Nobody brought it up. Tell people what you want. Gives you the opportunities that you need. Dr. Chip Wyndham is an instructor at Bethel's MA in Strategic Leadership. Said this. He said, you want to genuinely become interested in the things that are important to your followers. Then you can build relationships on that understanding. Makes sense. Know your people. Talk to your people. Understand what your people want. What are their motivators? And they're not always work motivators. They have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. You need to know both. You need to know what drives them. As a leader, if you want to have followers, if you want people to stay with you, to move with you, to work for you, work with you. For you is not what you want. You want them to work with you to accomplish goals. This is how you do it. It's making sure that you know your people. You understand their goals, their desires, their wants, their needs. Provide them opportunity to get to those things and remove the obstacles that are standing in their way. Provide support all the time. All right, Ricardo, I'm onto that video. If you can help me out, sir.
Sounds good. Give me just one moment.
Yes, sir.
I find that the best leaders tend to be the best followers, right? In other words, it's the reason they achieved rank is because they saw themselves in service to something greater than themselves, whether it was a cause, whether it was some vision, and whether it was their people. They saw themselves in service. In other words, they saw themselves as following, right? And that's what earned them trust of both those above and below them. And so I think that they tend to have a sort of this really sort of calm about them, because they are immensely grateful for the position that they have anyway, and they never expected to have it. And so every rank they've ever had, every level they've ever reached, they thought that this was it. So there's this immense sort of like, if nothing else happens, I'm so grateful. And they tend to, as you said, they don't seem to have much to prove. They're okay with how things are going, and they're eager to learn. I think there's a humility. There's definitely a humility. And the best definition of humility I ever heard was by Bob Gaylor, who was the 5th Chief Master Sergeant of the US Air Force. And he said, don't confuse humility with meekness. He said, humility is being open to the ideas of others. You can still have a big bombastic, you can still have a huge ego. And I've met some guys with huge egos, but when you say, I've got an idea, they go on. And I think that's humility. Right. It's not, oh shucks, that's meekness, which can be faked as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can be, as you say, humble, but also ruthless. If you're loaded with a why, where you want to get
stubborn,
to,
more than
stubborn.
Ruthless.
Sorry, it's the right word. Yeah, stubborn about where you're trying to get to, and that's important. But like everybody, I was watching some of your interviews, trying to find, Simon's top 5 attributes of leadership, and you said that, well, you don't like that. You think courage is the only thing that's common to them all, and like you said at the beginning, you said you're an introvert. Sir Terry Leahy, who ran an organization of 300,000 people at Tesco, one of the best CEOs we've had in this country, is a self-proclaimed introvert. As you said, they're all different styles that get to the top. Courage is.
For me, it is. I mean, I get the question a lot. Sort of, what are the top 5 attributes a leader needs to have? Vision, charisma. I know some really spectacular leaders who don't have big Steve Jobsian, Richard Branson-y visions, and yet they really take care of their people and are really pretty great leaders. And I know some leaders that really don't have much charisma. They're sort of weirdly quiet and meek, and yet really brilliant, spectacular, and loved. And but I am comfortable saying that all the great leaders that I've met or looked at, they do have courage. And the reason is the pressures of leadership are overwhelming. I mean, we can't imagine the pressures of leading a public company or pioneering some political movement. I mean, the pressures are overwhelming. And the courage to stand up to the majority, the courage to stand up to political or financial pressures, the courage to not do what's expedient in the short term in order to do something that's right for the long term, is tremendous. The courage to speak truth to power, the courage to do the right thing, the courage to take a short-term loss in order for long-term gain. I mean, I can't imagine some of the stresses that some of these guys must go through. And so courage for me is it. Courage for me is it. And I think a lot of people rising through the ranks doesn't make you a leader. It just means you've accumulated rank and authority. Leadership is something entirely different. There are many people who reach the highest levels of companies who are not leaders. They have authority, and we do as they tell us because they have authority over us, but we wouldn't follow them. And yet we all know many people in the organization who have no authority, and yet they've made the choice to look after the person to the left and look after the person to the right, and we would follow them anywhere. And fundamentally, those choices are hard, which is why I think when CEOs tell me I had no choice, my reaction is, you just lack the courage to make hard choices.
Right. and making those unpopular decisions. As you said, even if you're the only one that thinks it needs to go that way, and the majority thinks it needs to go the other way, but you're the leader, you have to have that.
You probably need to have at least one ally.
Right. Yeah.
If you're the only one, it could be delusion.
Yeah. Your wife on side, your husband on side.
A couple people, I think,
would be useful,
because it's, you need to have a couple people to watch your back. Yeah.
Simon says some stuff in there. I love listening to Simon. He's obviously more to the business side of leadership and stuff like that. But I think everything he said applies to, I mean, he wrapped up my PowerPoint in 5 minutes. He talked about courage, even though he talked about it from a leadership standpoint. It applies to everything we're looking for in our followers. Don't be afraid to challenge. Don't be afraid to make suggestions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. He gets it. And the reason that I named this Leadership Reimagined Followership is because I feel like followership is really where it's going to be at. If we don't invest in our people, we as leaders, we're useless. Like he said, you're just a name on a nameplate with a job. Who cares? If you don't have people that want to do the work that you're asking them to do, guess who's doing it? It's important. It's the next big thing. I think we're going to see probably a lot more training on this over the next couple of years. Really investing. Companies going to invest in the line level, the people, the next leaders. How are we going to build them? How do we entrust them with what we want our company to be? That's about it. I don't really have anything else on it right now. I am open to any questions in the chat or anything you guys have to say. If you disagree with anything I've said, let's go challenge me on it. I'm ready for that. If not, I'll pretend I knew what I was talking about.
We'll wait. We'll wait here for a second here in the comments to see if anybody has anything. It's however fast someone can, how fast they can type and hit enter. What I wanted to bring up first and foremost, thank you very much for putting this together and presenting it, man. This is good. It's always good, not only to see you, but to have you speak and just give your knowledge on all of this. And so I made sure to take 3 screenshots. One, what is followership? And then of course these next 2 pieces here, because I want to make sure to share this on After the Greatness later on today, a screenshot of what leaders need from followers. And I just kind of want to reiterate and repeat this part here, that a can-do attitude, a collaborative approach, the personal drive to stay current, and the passion to drive personal growth. Very important pieces there, especially that passion to drive personal growth. And there are some folks who are just like, oh, I'm just here, this it's just a paycheck or whatever. I think sometimes though people don't realize what it is that that they actually do and what they provide. And what I mean by that is, just for example, I was teaching out in North Carolina a while back, and there was a person there who I had asked, what's your why? What are your reasons for what you do? And they're like, I'm just collecting a paycheck. I just got to do what I got to do and put food on the table, pay bills and this and that. And I said, well, that's understandable. That's what everybody is doing in a sense, right? But I said, there's not anything else. And I said, nope, that's all I'm here for. That's all I do. Now, here's the thing though. There were 2 people sitting next to this person. And what they said, they jumped in right away and they said, actually, you are a great leader and trainer. You were our trainers. And they were saying all the different things that this person had done. and you could see the person like in their face, just like the realization of just, oh, like I have done some really good things. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in what it is that we're doing that we don't give ourselves a chance to reflect on what we've done because there's so much stuff going on, right? But when we finally get a chance, that's one of the things that I tell people is like, try to reflect on some of the stuff that you've done or write down some of those wins so that you can remember some of those things. So I think sometimes we just don't realize. And then when we have someone say it, it's like, oh, well, I guess I did do that. Like, oh, all right. And that really comes in as well. So um, one of the other things that I marked down here is what followers need from leaders. And you had asked that. I love how you asked that. You're engaging rather the audience, and everyone was putting in their stuff there. And just what you had on the screen here was clear goals and direction, frequent, specific, and immediate feedback, and then coaching to develop potential. And I love every single one of those points there, and just kind of using your experience and everything to go with it, because that's how we relate and that's how we connect. So again, thank you, man, very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So for everyone here, the best thing about this is that all of this remains. As soon as we close up this session, it goes immediately into replay mode. So you can come back and watch it as many times as you want, have others come and watch this session to learn more. And everything that's in the chat remains. So it doesn't disappear or anything. So if anybody wants to come back and see some of the information that was on there, you can put it up there, and or you can go and you can scroll through and see. We've got a bunch of people thanking you and everything for the information and stuff. Did you have a last slide that had your information by any chance?
I failed to do that.
I wasn't sure if you had or not, but if you did, I was going to have you put it back up there. Otherwise, you can also just put it in the comments for everybody there. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Steve, there you go, boom, right there. If anybody wants to get a hold of him, you can do so, and make sure, because he's got a lot of stuff, and I can see you, man, submit this stuff to other classes that are going to be coming up in 2025. I think you're right. It's going to be a lot more talk about all of this. And Samantha is saying, thank you for the great insights into being a great follower. Awesome. Thank you very much, man. And for everybody who is watching here, we are going to be going to the next session. That's going to be starting at about 12:30 or so p.m. Eastern time. And the session is called 911. I have the emergency, how my 911 job saved my life, why your purpose is important. And that's with Gary Hill. So we're going to be going to that one here momentarily, and we will see you all in the